Hey guys, this is Kyle with SpiritFX here, and we are here for another Tip Tuesday. And we have an awesome guest today. The reasoning behind this guest is because I got the pleasure of sitting by her on a plane ride home from NCA Dallas, where she was carrying some heavy merchandise with her. And that is Brittani Vaughn from Ice All Stars. So I'm going to give her some screen time and give her a second to introduce herself a little bit more, a little bit about her history if you don't already know her, and then we'll get started.
Hi, everyone. Working currently. I've been here for 4 seasons. Frost, which is a small junior 5 program, as well as Lady Lightning, which is small senior level 5. I've been growing up through the cheerleading industry in the Illinois area, and I'm happy to make my way back home because ICE is actually where I grew up cheering as well.
Awesome, cool. And the first part of that just cut out a little bit. So I was just going to reiterate that you're from Ice All Stars, where you coach Frost and Lady Lightning as 2 of your teams.
Right.
Awesome. Well, like I said, I got the opportunity to sit next to Brittani from NCA Dallas, and we started talking about cheerleading. And one thing that just completely had me awestruck was what her preparation was to get ready for NCA. So, Brittani, would you elaborate a little bit about how you get your teams ready for NCA Dallas?
Sure, of course. So this year, I've taken a much different approach in my coaching. It's kind of been a transition from the back in the day. Kyle and I were talking about on the plane how we used to have a score sheet where we had to hit a certain amount of body positions. And I'm watching old routines where kids were throwing 5 and 6 elite level jumps in a routine. And maybe even 2 sets of basket tosses. So the industry has come a long way, and I knew that I had to transition my frame of coaching with that as well. I have great mentors here at Ice All Stars who have kind of helped me guide me into a technique-based approach. So going into NCAA this year, I knew for both of my teams being in very competitive divisions, as far as skills go, that I had to play off of my kids' strengths and weaknesses, knowing that, I could go and try to match skill for skill with every standing pull or every double pull. But my landings may not be correct. I wouldn't be hitting my technique driver. So my main preparation going into NCAA, especially, focusing on having smaller teams on the floor of 22 for the juniors and then 19 for the seniors. The main focus there was pulling skills, and that was both in stunting elements and in tumbling as well. So I knew that going in, I wasn't going to have the highest stunting score in my division for the juniors, and I may not have the highest standing tumbling or running tumbling score for senior 5. But at least I knew that I would be able to put up as close to a 5 in technique as possible. So that was the main focus that I took for preparation this year.
That's awesome, and that's so great to hear because I feel like a lot of coaches in this day and age in the industry are pushing to try to get more skills in their team, more, focusing on that left side of the score sheet because I'm sure you realize as a coach too, we get those score sheets back and we will get that full breakdown and we see our competitor beat us by a 10th or 2 in difficulty. We immediately go into this almost automatic mode that we know, okay, well, we got beat in stunt difficulty by 0.2. We have to go back and make a change to make it harder. But then in doing so, sometimes we forget about that right side of the score sheet, which is the execution base, where you can really earn some points against other teams, especially if you already know you're going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage because of either numbers or skill set.
Yeah, one of the things this year that I kind of have focused on is like sometimes as a coach, a big part of setting your team up for success is swallowing your own pride. I will tell you that the stunt sequence I had my junior 5 doing over the summer was much more intricate and much more difficult than the stunt that was performed at NCA. And this is something that my owners and directors through the ICE program have been working with our coaching staff with, is that sometimes you plan something out and you think it's going to be, executed one way on the floor and it just doesn't work out. The execution may not be there as far as technique goes. So, I at one point had stunts moving all over the floor. I had more intricate body positions, and based off of what had been put on the floor at the local competitions and at the smaller nationals prior to NCAA, I had to make some decisions that, yes, although my teams had been working on certain skills for 5 or 6 months, I have to pull them for what's best interest of the team on the score sheet for NCAA.
And it looks like that was a great decision for you based on your results.
Yeah, that's good.
Your explanation kind of brought me into another question, and that is, do you feel like you prepare your teams differently for a local competition versus, an NCAA Dallas or JamFest Indy competition?
Basically, the reality check I had with the junior level 5 athletes that I'm coaching this year was that I had been doing a good job of preparing them physically, but had not been spending enough time on their mental preparation. And this did not shine through as evidently for me at the local competitions. They were still, although the execution wasn't exactly how I would have liked it, they would be able to hold routines, mostly hitting a 0, maybe with just some performance errors. And then coming Jam Fest and then going into some larger local competitions that were, big events, I started to see some of the nerves shining through with the younger athletes. And then, we also saw this a lot with Lady Lightning as well, going into the majors and some more high pressure situations, that we realized that, mentally we hadn't been preparing the athletes quite adequately enough. So that was another focus to going into NCAA was, making the kids, simulating the environment to the best of our abilities. Obviously, we can't create the arena environment in our gym at home, but we can do the best we can by pulling in parents and, mentally telling the kids, okay, you're backstage and this is what you're going to be feeling. This is what you're going to be hearing. The crowd's going to be going crazy, looking at your performance order and being able to tell the kids, okay, Top Gun is going to be on before you and the crowd's going to be going wild. How are you going to keep your focus? And just little things like that were some of the key things that we did to try to get the kids as well prepared mentally as we could.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for people that haven't been in the arena with a team before, I actually never have been back in the arena other than one time my whole coaching career in the arena. And it is unlike any other, and there's nothing you can do to prepare for it. And that, you hit the nail on the head. You have to get your athletes mentally tough for, if you're going on before Top or right after Top Gun Large Co-Ed, the arena is going to be erupting, and how are you going to react to that and be able to maintain your mental state? I do know that you're extremely busy. I know you're at the gym now, so I just want to have one last question with our conversation. I feel like this is probably going to hit, a lot of our clients as far as maybe what advice they could have. But what would you give advice to a gym owner or a coach that feels like their kids are just missing the mark a little bit? They're not getting last place, but they're just missing getting first place by a little bit. What do you have for advice that they need to look at to try to take that next big step into their success?
The best advice I can give to somebody who's missing the mark just a little bit, and trust me, this is coming from somebody who coached a lot of second place summit teams and a lot of second place NCAA teams. And I know the feeling when you feel like you're right there, but you just can't push through the brink of greatness, so to speak. And I think what I have done differently with the team this year, is that you have to really concentrate on what your strengths and weaknesses are. Study your division is the best thing you can do for your kids, but don't obsess over your competitors. There's nothing worse than getting lost in your competitors' routines and trying to skill match, skill for skill, because at the end of the day, your kids are not their kids. And what your kids do well, their kids may not do well, and vice versa. So the best advice I can give is know your competitors, because you don't want to go into a division and already be setting yourself up in a deficit. However, be smart about playing towards your strengths. So, like, for instance, my junior kids are not great stunters. They've improved drastically, but they're not great stunters. They're much better tumblers than they are stunters. However, could I have gone on the floor at NCAA and thrown a ton of standing pulls? I could have, but look at what your technique drivers are. Pulling your friends who are in the industry who will give you unbiased opinions and tell them, would you give me the landing driver? And I think that's sometimes the best reality check, because when we're standing at the front of the floor 2 to 3 practices a week, and we know that Susie Q on the left side always has her feet apart on her 2 to full, we tend to watch the same things over and over again, and we're sometimes missing the big picture of what's going on in our routine. Another piece of advice I would give is to make sure that when you're going in, when you're going into the big competitions with the kids, making sure that, they understand the score sheet. My biggest thing that I've been trying to drive home with not only the kids, but also my coaching peers this year is that we're essentially teachers in a way that you would never set your kids up if you were a teacher, a geometry teacher, for a test that they didn't know the material to. So if you're sending your kids into the competition and they don't understand the score sheet, then you're sending them essentially into that test without ever teaching them the information. So one of the things that I like to do with the kids at practice is, all summer long, we would go over the drivers for every aspect of the score sheet, mostly technique because the difficulty is pretty much going to be what it is going in. From a coaching standpoint, we kind of understand that sometimes we're not going to get a 5 in that category, and that's going to be okay. So at least from the technique aspect, those drivers are everything. So if the kids understand the drivers, then you're better prepared to actually achieve them. And what we've found is that the kids actually can start to trend. Okay, like we're great jumpers, but we haven't gotten, leg placement for 2 competitions in a row. And it's not because our toe touch back tuck looks bad. It's because our back legs on our hurdlers are different. And so the kids are smart enough and they like cheerleading enough where they can start to trend that because they also want to be successful. So that's my best advice, because if they truly understand the score sheet, you're setting them up for better success. Whether you're going to win every competition or not, things are still going to happen. But at least that you're sending them in, with the best possibility.
Brittani, thank you so much for your time today. I know that you're super busy. I'm fortunate. I've known you for so long, back from the Cheer Command days. Cheer Command was already such a great program, and watching you thrive through your coaching career, ending up at ICE and, doing great things at Worlds and Summit and NCAA Dallas is awesome to watch. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Definitely appreciate it. I think anyone that's watching this video will get a lot out of everything you had to say. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. And for everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in this week. This was our SpiritFX Tip Tuesday.